Hi, this is Cora Stack again, Dr. Stack. I wanted to prepare this actually for X because, the media have gone silent, so they obviously need a bit of education and perhaps they're not aware of these issues. So let me try and explain it here. I don't know if any of them are, listening to this or not. They may be, listening. Are they liking it? No, I don't think so. I don't know why they're gone so secretive. That I haven't figured out that puzzle yet, but will in due course perhaps. But it's not my main. I just have concerns. Democracy on trial: the constitutional crisis behind Ireland's 2025 presidential election. When justice is blocked, democracy itself stands accused. So, in the run-up to Ireland's 2025 presidential election, an extraordinary legal case is testing the very heart of Irish democracy. I never in a million years thought I'd be, involved in this. This is kind of mind-blowing in itself. Myself, Dr. Cora M, I suppose I'd be described as a distinguished Irish academic. I'm not sure I'm a whistleblower. I'm a researcher in whistleblowing legislation. That's only one of my many areas that I investigate or I study, has brought a judicial review that challenges not only a new lasting restricting court access, but the fairness of the presidential nomination process itself. With the High Court Judgment Day due the day before the election, that's very soon as we all know, this may be the most consequential constitutional test Ireland has faced in decades. So this is a very difficult one for the judge. It is the most consequential test Ireland has faced in decades. This is a very highly consequential case for the Judicial Review list, backed by, I suppose, the President of the High Court. I don't know who he is, but I mean, he's, it's a real test for them, really. No, and Asher, they deserve a test now and again, don't they? I mean, we all have to, rise to the occasion. If we have the backbone. At the centre of this case, this is where I think the media are lost completely. So let me try and explain it, because unfortunately I'm in the middle of it. At the centre of this case lies the Protective Disclosures Amendment Act 2022 legislation designed to strengthen protections for whistleblowers. But I argue it has done the opposite. The Act centralises power. This is very clear if you just read the Act, in the hands of a single commissioner, and effectively removes access to judicial review. Nothing can be referred to the courts. That's taken out of it. The justiciability has been removed, which was there previously. This means if you make a disclosure and the commissioner dismisses it, that you can no longer easily appeal to the courts through his process, the process of the protective disclosures. It's a quiet revolution, Irish law, one that may breach the Constitution itself. So this Act was never referred, as I understand it, to the Supreme Court from the President. There's no evidence. This is one of the key points I'm making. So the kind of articles that I'm relying on here are Article 34, right of access to the courts, Article 40.3, protection of personal rights. This is a very important one. EU Charter Article 47, right to an effective remedy. My argument is simple but profound. If citizens can't challenge injustice, the rule of law collapses. That's it already, says you. So the second part of this challenge cuts to the core of Irish democracy, the nomination process for presidential candidates. Independent citizens must secure the backing of 20 of 20 of 4 county councillors, four county or city council, a task dominated by party allegiances, gatekeeping political bidders. No. What it is that's incorrect. Sorry. So it's there's 2 avenues. One is the county council, so you need 20 Oireachtas members or 4 county city councillors, but the Oireachtas route is dominated by party allegiances, gatekeeping and political patronage. For independents like Dr. Stack and others who lack party machinery or financial backing, this process is almost impenetrable. So the only other route is the route to the county council route, which is all about checks and balances, meaning that the election can't be controlled by the party machinery. Like that's more like what happens in communism. It means that the presidency, Ireland's symbolic guardian of the Constitution, may be chosen from a field already filtered by political insiders if the other side is the continental side is interfered with in an unprecedented way. It's a democratic catch-22. You need establishment approval to challenge the establishment. So Ireland's judiciary is now under immense pressure. I mean, I wouldn't like to be them really, to be honest, because they seem to defer more and more to the executive. I mean, that appears to be the case, or is believed by many. And can it remain independent when the case before it questions the limits of state power just day before a national election? The court's decision will show whether constitutional rights are still living principles or ceremonial relics. The judiciary must or should protect justice, even if it's politically inconvenient. What's at stake? Article 12 of the Irish Constitution requires the President to swear to uphold the Constitution and protect its laws. But if citizens are denied access to justice and independent voices are blocked from running, can that oath still have meaning? This is more than a personal case or just about me or anything like that. It is a test. Of course, I love doing this. It's not that I love doing it, but it's the challenge. It's a challenge to this really is the challenge, to the highest in the judicial review list. Will they pass the test? Will they do what they're supposed to do? Will they get an A here? This is the question, or will they get a D minus? That's up to them. As my judgment. So it is. That's only a joke. It is a test of whether Ireland's democracy belongs to the people or to the institutions that now stand between them and justice. That's absolutely clear. If the court refuses to interfere, the risk is clear. A president may be elected under unconstitutional law. Well, that would be great for the reputation of the courts. Ireland could breach its EU obligations. Brilliant for the reputation of the courts. And public faith in justice could suffer irreparable harm. Great for the courts. Really good for their reputation. So my case is not about one election or one person. I mean, it's all about the soul of the Irish Republic, SOUL of the Irish Republic, as I've said, whether truth, justice and democracy remain rights for all or privileges for the few. I mean, this is what's believed. That's the way Ireland has gone. That it's all about, the rights are all about, and privileges are all for the few and not for the many. The ordinary, squeeze medal who didn't get a penny in the budget, and you were kind of, what were they punished or something? If they didn't do what they were told, they wouldn't get a penny the next time. Now, I'm not saying that was the reason, but still, they certainly didn't buy any votes in this case for the presidential election anyway. But I'm not saying they should do it in any case. So that's just the end of that. So there are very serious consequences for the courts here if they defer. When there's clear breach of the separation of powers here, an encroachment in the separation of powers, actually at the local level between the executive and the councils and at the executive and the courts. I mean, it's multiple breaches really, and breaches between the executive and the and EU legislation. I mean, how many more breaches would you need in order for this to be a constitutional crisis? You see, it's very hard to explain it to people who don't understand the protective disclosures dimension of how bad, what a serious situational crisis this is. So it's because I've done all the research. You see, I wrote that paper. It was a key exhibit that the other side wanted to be removed at the last minute as being irrelevant. Would that be coercion? Anyway, I refused to do it on the grounds that it was a protective disclosure under the previous act, and now would it be unjustifiable, unconstitutional, etc. So declared unjustifiable. So where would it go? The commissioners would go somewhere where it couldn't really be dealt with. If he's probably sent it somewhere, but it wouldn't be able to be dealt with by the courts. But now it's the function of the courts. But you can, you can go to the courts, but on your own, at your own expense, and you're risking everything really. So it's a very serious issue for the courts really. And I'm sure they're aware of it. I don't think they're watching these videos, but I mean, you know, they'd be very well advised to do that. But no, I don't think they would be watching these videos. And you know, these are information videos now. They're factual. They're not trying to influence them in any way. They're purely factual. So no, they wouldn't be watching them. So it's just for the attention of others. And I mean, people are writing to me and asking me about this, that, and the other. And I've referred them to these videos because I think it's better they listen to this, because I can't be repeating it over and over again, because it takes an awful lot of work to do all this, you know, and put it on YouTube and X. You know, X have really kind of you know, given me the cold shoulder. Well, we'll see where that'll get. The silent treatment. There's that more of the narcissistic control, the silent treatment from the you know, the media on X. I know, no, they're and I mean, I was always a great supporter of the media, and I am very fond of the journalists. All the journalists, they're really fond of the journalists. I mean, they're very interesting, and they're not really narcissistic themselves. So there's another agenda here that I'm not aware of. Now, there's a new book coming out, I think by somebody, and it's supposed to explain all this, you know, and there's a podcast about it, and I think it's something, vandalising Ireland or something, what it's called. You know, so maybe that'll explain this problem that the media have sort of ignoring this case completely. And is it bullying the judges, or the jury with the judge, trying to bully him into you know, siding with the executive? I mean, that's very serious. That's extremely serious. So I'm just raising it as a point. I don't know, but somebody said this book would explain it all, and I haven't read it, but I know that it's out there, and I think that's the title of it. And that's it really. So we'll wait with bated breath and see what the Judicial Review list will do here under the guidance of the President of the Irish High Court, and will they be overly deferential to? I mean, will they really act in accordance with their duties, or will they defer to the executive, or be bullied by them, you know, or that sort of way? That's how I'd say it. Over deference, sure, that's trying to, well, what does that mean? They're overly deferential to the executive, and are you breaching your own powers? Are you allowing them breach your powers? I mean, that's another way of looking at it. And I have enough of this analysis done now, and I want to finish all this analysis. And this is just for factual information only, because people are contacting me, and I refer them here because they can, you know, there's a lot in this, a lot of factual information here that's not available anywhere else on the media, because they don't really understand the protective disclosure dimension, or if they do, they're staying silent about it. So I mean, I couldn't possibly make it clear in the videos here. So it really is, you know, that's what it says. It's a major constitutional crisis. I mean, did I ever think I'd end up in this mess, being the person trying to present it to the courts in front of a judge called Judge Mark Estlin in the Judicial Review list? Not in a million years, but you know, we all wait with bated breath what the course does. But I think with the previous judge there in the last case, he said the case was doomed to failure. You know, and that meant that if it went further to appeal, or you know, the Court of Appeals or the Supreme Court, that, you know, it will fail. Well, I would say the exact opposite in our case. It's doomed. It's not doomed. It's guaranteed to be successful. So on that case, unless I pass away, you know, which you know, could happen with all the pressure I've been under, all this is a severe penalisation and surveillance and all of that, which I've survived and I don't have to stop now. But you know, no, the you know, no, this in my case, no, I don't. You know, no. Well, once you have a fair judge, you know that's not, you know, a fair judge. That's half the battle. But you have to have the best case. You have to have the best case and a fair judge. And if you have the best case, possible case, and a fair judge, you have a 50-50 chance of success, I would say. So that's just on the balance. So we just need to shift it by a percentage of epsilon to be on the proper side of the balance of convenience. But it all remains to say. But I would say that if the courts do not side with this, they are being too deferential to the executive out of fear, which can often happen, and that's the case, you know, in communist countries. But are we a communist country, or are we a functional democracy, or what are our rights and duties under the Constitution? So this is all mind blowing for me, because I'm learning so much about the Constitution in the last month. It's like doing a PhD in law in a very short time, so it's fascinating. And really, I want to get it out of my head and onto the the powers that be, who have the power to decide what the right thing to do is. But it's fascinating. But law is fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. But this area of law is particularly fascinating because it's very technical, so it suits kind of a mathematical brain. So kind of very, very forensic, and need to be very, 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 very good on technicalities to grasp the technicalities here. So it's like having to do, as I say, a PhD in a matter of a month. So in law, constitutional law. So that's a challenge in itself. So that's the end of it now, and the very best of luck to all my to all the people who have made wonderful comments. And I can't I can't describe how uplifting those comments are. And if you knew what I had experienced in my life, the abuse that I've been subject to and the neglect, and the incredible envy and jealousy by people, all across. It's desperate, and I never was envious of anyone. No, I always wish them the best. But that's the way it is sometimes. So anyway, it's the bad mouthing, and the smearing behind your back, and all that kind of the backstabbing. But it's well known that it happens in academia and even in families and everything. So this narcissism, you see, I've studied it for years and years, and it's interesting now that I'm seeing it in politics as well. So it's all coming together. It's all part of a trend towards leaning more and more towards dictatorship and democracy. So unless the judiciary take a stand tomorrow, we're as this fellow says, that we're doomed. This other fellow that wrote this book, Vandalising Ireland. But that's not in my hands. That's in the hands of the Judicial review list. Thanks very much. This is Dr. Cora M. wishing you all the best and a nice evening. And I feel right is on my side, but certainly might is not on my side.